Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Conscious Love Network. I'm here in a beautiful group today talking about the inner child specifically. If you are seeing this on YouTube and you're not part of the One Conscious Love Network yet, I'll put a link in the comments. And so please join us. It's a beautiful community of beautiful souls, and we love to share our knowledge and as well as support one another in our journey of consciousness. And so, with that, we'll get started. And today is all about the inner child and working with the inner child that's in all of us. And so, we'll first go around the room and let everyone introduce themselves and tell you how is it that they shine their lights in the world. And so, Adrienne, let's start with you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Adrienne Harris, and I am a numerologist, a soul path guide, and a relationship strategist. So I actually what I do is I help midlife women decode their souls and so that they can heal old patterns and become home to themselves again. My work weaves numerology, emotional alchemy, and energy psychology into bringing awareness to the unconscious patterns that often begin in childhood. So, this is my wheelhouse. Reparenting in my world is about remembering how to feel safe in your own body and be loved by your own energy. So, yeah, that's truly what I do. And I absolutely love to help people awaken to their highest expression.
That's so beautiful. I'm so glad that you're here, that you get to share your expertise today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Sunny, you're next. Sunny is also one of the writers in the Awakened Soul book and the Awakened Feminine book. And so Sunny and I met last year in Mexico, and that's where I had this idea to start this community as well. So it's always amazing to see you, love. Please share with everyone how you shed your light in the world.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and thank you, everybody. My name is Sunny Dawson, and I am a psychic medium, intuitive reader, healer, and I do transformational therapeutic coaching as well. So, and I do a lot of parts work and really investigating with people. They're consciously uncovering their unconscious, and so I do a lot of inner child work, and it's certainly my jam. And as you can see, my house is very colorful, so it's very open to doing a lot of playful activities with my clients.
So beautiful. I love it. Jennifer and I met on Facebook actually, but wow, it's such a great leader in our space, and it's lovely to have you. Please, Jennifer, introduce yourself.
Jennifer Mackey, and I'm a speaker, writer, author of Just One Soulful Thing. So this theme really spoke to my soul. And I just love Melanie and everything that she does. And whenever I meet any of the kindreds online, I always feel that soul connection and kinship. And so, yeah, I'm a speaker, I'm a writer. I work in communication. My background is in psychology and communication. I do coaching. I just came back from hosting a retreat in Guatemala for a group of women. It's phenomenal. And so I'm just honored to be here. And it's all about unleashing that innate wise voice within us. And so it begins with that inner child. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Melanie, and lovely to meet you all.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Dr. Janine Ambrose, we met on Facebook. You had your interview in the One Conscious Love Network last week. So lovely to have you back. Please tell everyone how it is that you shed your light in the world.
Well, I teach metaphysics. So I teach about energy so people can understand that when they speak or their thoughts create their reality. I also have published a couple books. I do artwork. I compose channel healing music. So the frequencies actually affect. I have 6 children, which teaches me everything I need to know. And 6 grandbabies. So I just think that with the inner child, it's about being happy. And so even when I teach my classes, we have a lot of fun and we laugh because it's really simple. It's not complex. I feel anyway. Hello. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's lovely to have you back, and I hope you'll be back again and again. Kira, you're new to the One Conscious Love Network. We met on Facebook and you did this beautiful artwork for us yesterday. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself and tell everyone how you shed your light in the world.
I am so pleased to be here with all of you and to get to know some of you and to be a part of this network. My name is Kira and my company is Be the Light for Them. Them is your children, your inner child, and the future generations in your family. My mission is to interrupt intergenerational trauma. So I work with families of young children, those still in developmental age, especially those that are coming out of very difficult relationships. So they're now single parenting. We're working on the co-parenting and to really help them to connect with their children, to bring harmony, to recover from the experiences that they've had, and to create a joyful home. I also work with individuals who are aware of the fact that they would love to heal their inner child, or that their childhood wasn't ideal for them, and that there are things that would make them feel more alive, more authentic, and more loving out in the world, because they can be loving within. So I work in, as I said, family mentorship, and also with as an inner child channel, doing Reiki channeling, and as well therapeutic cuddling.
Beautiful. Well, it's lovely to have you here. I look forward to getting to know you better. Patsy and I met back in December of last year. I can't believe it's almost been a year, and part of the same networking group of passionate, loving people. So it's lovely to have you back. Patsy, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone how you shed your light in the world.
Thank you, Melanie. It's wonderful to be with all you beautiful ladies. I'm Patsy DeLay, and I'm a founder of Elevate You and Elevate You 2 private Facebook group. It's a 12-pillar program that I've developed that I needed to instill within myself when I started taking the journey of recovery from many different traumas that occurred to me in my lifetime. When I became a sober and clean woman about 15 years ago, I'll be climbing into that in February of 26. I developed an understanding that I was really emotionally immature, and I needed to really understand why all these triggers were happening. So these pillars are for me to help others with their foundation of understanding themselves, get them prepared to understand why they react the way they do and how they can change into doing different responses, and understand that they don't need fixing, that they are a loving being here on earth, and they are here also to help others. So they're as much my teacher as I am theirs. It's a wonderful journey to be on. I'm working on my book, and I'm excited for everything to come and to listening to women that have like ideas and may have like similarities to my approach on coaching.
Beautiful, Patsy. Thank you so much. Relitza, it's nice to meet you. It's nice to have you here. Please tell everyone how it is that you shed your light in the world.
Melanie, thank you so much for having me. I am Relitza. It's so beautiful to be here. And thank you for creating this community of, it feels like a community of coherence, which is what I'm being called to enter more and more into. So just so grateful that we synchronistically somehow found each other. Yes, thank you for having me. And so I'm calling in from the traditional territories of the Coquitlam First Nations people today. I'm a first generation settler on these lands, and really grateful to have left a communist country to be here to, you know, pursue that freedom, and authenticity is what really comes through me. And so, you know, when I hold space for people, whether it's my students, clients, really anyone that comes, it's really holding the space to be able to see themselves and to really truly embrace all of ourselves. We're all just reflections and mirrors of each other. So yeah, the frequency that comes through is really that divine union within, you know, taking that personal responsibility to create that harmony within, and to be able to actually share our light with the world, whatever that means for us uniquely and authentically. And so the calling to leave medicine was really important for me, because it was part of, being in integrity with myself, knowing that, the call is to activate the healer within. And in medicine, we actually suppress that. We maintain, the disease, and the intention is good, is to stop suffering, right? In the best way that we knew how. But going back to that ancient wisdom and knowledge that we all have a healer within, and to hold space to accept ourselves as we are, it really activates that. And so that's the frequency that I hold, and I'm so grateful to be here to share whatever comes through today. So thank you for having me.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad that, yes, we are connected and that you are here and you feel like you're connected to the right group. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Daniel, we've met on Facebook as well. Your first time here on the One Conscious Love Network. Please tell everyone, how is it that you shed your light in the world?
Thank you so much, Melanie. I appreciate being here. Absolutely. I am a conscious connected breath worker, and I'm a holistic integrative body worker and personal coach. And essentially, how I spread my light is in a lot of different ways. I've been actually a touring drummer for a long time and went through a lot of different life shifts. And essentially, I spread that light through embodying a sense of love and relationship, that we have a deeply both joyful and primal part of us that we can express and that we can explore more, and that typically gets shut down by us living too much from our head. So a lot of what I coach and what I do is about us living from our body, and it's actually a different way that we operate and a different way that we how we express ourselves. So thank you.
That's beautiful, Daniel, for sure. The somatic practices, oh gosh, I can't get enough. It's lovely to have you here. Jesse, you're also new to the One Conscious Love Network. Really glad that you're here. Please tell everyone, how is it that you shed your light in the world?
Yeah, thank you so much, Melanie, for having me, and hi to everyone else on the panel here. So I'm calling in from the Sinixt Extended Ktunaxa peoples here, also known in Nelson, BC. So I'm the founder of Reconnect and a women's reconnection and embodiment coach. So my work is really about supporting women to come back into themselves and put the oxygen mask on themselves before helping someone else. And so this work looks a lot like slowing down, pausing, coming into stillness, offering self-compassion. And a lot of the work that I do in one-on-one sessions does get down to the root of what we're talking about today with inner child work. So very excited to deepen into that with you all and explore a bit further.
Oh, I love that. And for those of you watching all over the world, Nelson, BC is actually a beautiful place, very high in crystals as the foundation of the earth. So it has that beautiful frequency to it. Oh, it's lovely for you to join us. Thank you for doing that. Excellent. So we're going to go around again and ask all of our experts here today to answer our first question today. Is how do you identify when the inner child is active in someone's healing journey? And I thought this question was particularly relevant because it's really hard when you're kind of looking for your path and looking for healing to kind of identify what is it that could be in me that needs to be addressed or helped or healed. And so I thought this would be a good way for our watchers to identify, maybe with different hints and clues that maybe, oh, maybe this is work that I need to do. So please, Adrienne, go ahead and answer the question for us.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, like I said, I work in this realm, and so in my work, I see the inner child just not as a psychological concept, but actually as an energetic frequency. So for those of you who don't know about numerology, we actually utilize the numbers of the energy of your birthday. And I work with an ancient system that actually shows me the parts of us that carry the original imprint of love, safety, belonging, and lack thereof. So when that inner child is active, I can feel through someone's energy, language, and their numbers. I can see numbers that they might be missing in their chart or in their birthday. And so in a session, I often know the inner child is active. And when someone's energy shifts into fear, shame, or defensiveness, and also when they start seeking validation, approval, or try to control their world, these are disempowered states of our numerology and our energetics. And so quite often their tone softens, their breathing shortens, and they might say things like, I should have known better, or I always mess this up. And they're really not talking to their adult self. They're actually talking to that younger version of them, and they're still seeking safety. And so quite often in my sessions, I always ask, especially as a relationship strategist, what is your childhood need? Because we bring those childhood needs into every single relationship that we have in our lives. And it's actually encoded at us in our numerology and also in our soul codes.
That's beautiful. Yes, certainly. Certainly. Well, that's what brought you to that work?
Numerology found me, actually. So I'm a person who experienced a lot of trauma in my life. I was sexually abused from the age of 3. I stepped into counseling for 30 years when I turned 23. And to be honest with you, this has been my life's work, self-help. So for myself, I'm a ruling 11 too. And so I am coded to learn how to please others, to feel loved. Someone who might be a ruling 4 might not feel safe when they're not in control. So it really is one of those things that actually found me. And so I constantly am looking at how we can re-adult ourselves, because that's what I've actually had to do. And so it's more about not reacting. It's more about in that moment realizing the emotion doesn't match the size of the situation, because we are emotionally coded. We've been so pulled away from our emotions. So I've really worked on understanding my own emotional intelligence, and then I also teach that within my work that I do.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me share that.
Yes, for sure. Sunny, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Melanie. So I believe our inner child is active all the time. I don't think it's just on the healing journey. I think we're all children acting in adults' bodies most of the time. And I just don't think we're consciously aware of it. I don't think most of us are consciously aware of it most of the time. And that's okay. Like, for example, when you go into workplaces, it's very, very easy to see how the dynamics work out in terms of, bosses and under bosses, and how people interact with their boss. And it's really mirroring a lot of our early childhood experiences, or how people experience that mirrors our early childhood. And so it's fascinating for me when I'm working individually with people, just to help introduce them to the parts of themselves that they don't actually know that is active, that is running most of the time. And there's a lot of uncovering, because our inner children, and I don't think we just have one, I think we've got many. I'm a parts work practitioner, so that's where I come from. But we have many inner children that are active at different points, and they all need love, and they all need healing, and they all need different things from us depending on the potential trauma that was experienced at any point in time. And trauma doesn't have to be like a big T trauma. It can be a little T trauma that still needs nurturing and love, which could be causing unconscious negative patterns in our lives that we want to overcome. So it's a fascinating journey to walk through with people, and I absolutely love it.
Beautiful. And I know you have an upcoming retreat. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am I've got 2 upcoming retreats, one in February on the 1st to the 3rd of March here in Mexico. I live in Mexico on the Caribbean, and I'm very excited because Melanie's coming later this week. And I have one in May in Peru, and I offer plant medicine, which isn't for everybody, but often it's really beautiful to pair with this sort of work. And this is where I'm coming from, a very trauma-informed therapeutic practice. So where we use plant medicine, and I help guide people to use some of these psychological tools with the plant medicine to go as deep as they're ready to go and be able to transform whatever they want to transform. So I'm very passionate about this work because, again, it's not for everybody, but for those who do feel a resonance, it can be a really powerful healing that is combined together. So, yeah.
Yes, I am so happy to see you this weekend. I'm so happy whenever you are here sharing your work because it is beautiful. Thank you so much, Sunny.
Thank you, Melanie.
Jennifer, please go ahead.
Well, as is true in lots of my life, I saw this so differently. When I saw the inner child pop up, I really feel like that inner child, and my interpretation was the pure innocence at the very beginning before the world got hold of us. And so it's interesting in that question, I came from a totally different perspective than I'm hearing. And it is that my work in the world is about helping people to get back to that innocence and to be able to rekindle that connection, that innate knowing, that wisdom within before the world, got a grip and told us that that wasn't how we should be flowing in the world. And so it's interesting because my answer to that was how I identify when that inner child is active, is that I actually, with my clients, feel that there's a longing, that there's that desire to reach out. And I've not really marketed my business a lot from a coaching perspective. I have many different hats. I've worked a lot in healthcares with nurses and doctors. So really, I resonated with what you had to say. I did some of the first personal development workshops for Calgary Health Region and Alberta Health Services, which is like 20,000 to 100,000 employees, talking about our ability to heal. And I feel that that is really about getting back to that innate inner child that knew what we were passionate about, that we were loving, that we had that sense of possibility in all things, that we could see the magic in the world about us and embrace that on the regular. And so for me, when I identified that inner child, that interpretation for me is that they're ready, they're desirous, they want to reach out, they know that they have gifts within themselves that they want to share. And it doesn't mean, of course, there's healing along that journey. But I feel like and when you were talking, Sunny, about the parts, a lot of my clients are psychiatrists and psychotherapists that deal with parts training and deal with, the healing of others. And so for me, it's about helping them to unleash that inner child, that innate knowledge, that sense of trust, that sense of being, and getting back to that before the world, kind of told them that they weren't capable, or it wasn't possible, or there was trauma and challenge that they faced. So for me in my work, it's about getting back to that inner voice. And my background too is in public relations and communication. So you can imagine that's a whole different world. I worked in San Diego and we're in a healthcare and technology department. My company was, present in San Diego, Los Angeles, and New York. And so there was a whole different spin on, the inundation of knowledge and information and that image. And so for me, I left that world and worked with hospice patients at the end of their lives with their families. I worked with children with disabilities that face real challenges in the families that go through that. And so I learned about that quality of life and getting back to that innocence and trusting ourselves and tapping that not only in our lives, but as parents, as professionals. And so that's where the Soulful Way was born. And Just One Soulful Thing, my book, was about just the top line. It's called A Simple Adventure in Reclaiming Your Innate Wild Wisdom. And so I really feel like the world is filled with all these answers, but getting back to our inner child, getting back to the stillness, getting back to the silence, and learning to listen within and trust ourselves again is a big part of the journey, or in the work that I do particularly. That being said, I don't work, my clients are not high trauma clients. And so I actually refer out to psychologists and psychiatrists that need to deal with that inner work. So for me, I'm dealing with people that are, they're at that level where they're listening, they're ready to listen, they're wanting that shift. And so that's kind of my audience. But yeah, so it's when there's that openness and desire to learn. So a bit of a different interpretation perhaps than what you intended, Melanie, but that's kind of my deal in the world, is seeing things and flipping words and interpretations on their end. So hopefully that aligns with some of
I
you.
love it. No, absolutely. Definitely. It's beautiful and definitely can relate to that pureness and that fullness when we are brought into this human experience. It's beautiful that you bring it up. Thank you.
Thank
Dr. Janine.
We know it's interesting that you're talking about the inner child, because I'm doing podcasts with a yogi from India right now, and we have a psychiatrist on there, and we're talking about the healing process of the inner child. And what I have found in my work, since I do regression therapy, healing work of multiple levels, is I intuit which one we need. But the main thing is to be happy. And so I did a class with Patch Adams. We both taught in Canada. And he made us lay on the floor and put our heads on each other's stomach and our feet. And he said we had to cough. So all of us in the class were laughing. But it was funny how many of the people got up and left because they didn't want to lay on the floor, at the conference. And so I find that humor and the fact that we have a choice to change our thoughts. So I will tell people, how long do you want to be in this situation? 2 minutes, 2 months, 2 years? And then I'll shift the conversation so they change their thoughts, and then all that emotion starts to leave. So there's many paths to the same destination. And I think what all of us are here doing is loving people. And it's that simple, and it's not that complicated.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What has your experience been like working with the yogis? I find them, of course, so fascinating.
Well, I met my first yogi when I was in my 20s. And it was so funny because my sister was with me, and we were sitting in a circle meditating, and all of a sudden a spirit came in my body and I went into a paraplegic form. And my sister was like freaking out, and I couldn't move, but I was totally conscious. And what had happened was this child had died in a fire, and she was a lost soul. And so I took her in my body, and actually the yogi came over and moved her on into the spirit world. And so a lot of times when I do my healing work, I will see if there's entities or attachments on the people to remove first, so that their mind and subconscious are open for the healing of their inner child. So that was my first experience. And then I've had a TV show for over 15 years. And I had a yogi from India who's Sri Govinda Naranjan. He works at the ashram over in India right now. And I went to his class, and all he did was drum and tell us to dance and whatever. And that night, my body vibrated all night. I couldn't even sleep. And I had him on my TV show the next day. And since then, we've reconnected, and now we're working together on a global way, because I've always felt progress in my life has been in that situation. And with the children, it's so much fun because we get to laugh all the time.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful. Kiara, please.
Wow. Like, all these perspectives are just so beautiful. I feel like we're speaking from one consciousness as a prism of different reflections, and everything is just coming together in this like beautiful whole by hearing everybody's thoughts on the subject. So thank you for those who've shared already, and those are going to continue to share. For me, it's very visible when somebody's inner child is active in their healing journey, when they are, one, getting into unhealthy relationships, which are can be trauma bonding or inner wound connections. So I work with people who are dealing with the aftermath of that. And the other thing is when a person is I think Dr. Jean brought this up earlier about or somebody did, about reacting rather than responding. When somebody is in the throes of emotion, and they are reacting in that moment, that is the inner child that's been triggered by something. There's some message that has come up that is bringing that intense anger, that frustration, that deep sadness, that is something that was activated within them. So that is another visible thing that from people on the outside can see. The other is the yearning that has been mentioned as well. When somebody is looking for answers, they're looking for love, they're looking, and they're yearning to feel complete. That's the inner child that didn't feel that they had what they need. So there's three things that from the outside are quite visible. When I do my work, I connect with them on a spiritual level, and as was mentioned, the parts therapy, the parts work, that there are various aspects of ourselves. And when I say inner child, it's not just one exactly. That could be the person as a 5-year-old, the person as a 10-year-old, as a 13-year-old, and they have a different need in that moment that needs to be resolved. And it might be in their body, it might be tension, pain, it might be an emotion that's stuck there and that comes up. And when I work with families, as Dr. Janine just mentioned, like the children are the best teachers, the parents get to have the privilege of getting their children to really get a rise out of them, because when that happens, they get to celebrate, hey, I recognize there's something in me that I still need to resolve. And it's funny, the old axiom of don't cry over spilled milk, but how many parents really do? And, when the child knocks something over and it
Yeah.
spills, it's a big event when really it's just spilled milk. So, in moments like that, it is absolutely the inner child at play there. And that's when they can stop, take a breath, recognize, and reintegrate and reapproach the situation differently. So those are some things that I see that are happening when the inner child is at play in the healing journey.
That's a beautiful example for sure. And definitely, even when you're spilling it yourself, right? It's just most of the time just tea or water, or it doesn't really matter. That's beautiful. Thank you. Patsy, please go ahead.
So I could piggyback on just about everything everybody has said. One huge thing that I choose to do is use vulnerability as my power tool to connect with everybody. In a way for me to connect, I really needed to break the DNA belief and chains of judging other people to feel better than, to think that I would have power over another and that I knew all. So I was brought up with a lot of different things, which we do. It's generational, it's DNA bringing down the gift of being vulnerable and saying, oh my God, I can change my belief. I can believe in a spiritual journey that connects me to a higher power. And how do I want that to look? And I'm like, well, I was brought up conditional love. So why don't I really look at when did I really unconditionally love myself? And I get right down into, and I could weep with the client and say, look, I get it. I've been there. I have like situations, and we can connect through our vulnerability. We can cry together. We can laugh together. We can do it all together. It's really about building that foundation of, I was a little girl who played with matches. And I am a survivor of 60 years with severe burns on my whole body. I don't hide it. My parents didn't have me hide it. I get outer skin trauma. I get inner skin trauma. I'm a girl that was sexually molested before my menstrual cycle. I can understand. I can be compassionate in that. And I'm a person that didn't know how to grieve when another person went over to the other side of the veil. And today I don't have to so much grieve as learn to connect with that person on the other side of the veil, spiritually connect and see the numbers. My father connects with me through twos, the Reiki energy that I used before I even knew I had a healing power. And somebody said to me, you've been healing people your entire life since you've been on this earth. And that beautiful blessing of awakening, that, wow, look at all the gifts we have instilled within us that we did not allow to filter out. The rays of light that filter out of us is amazing. That awareness is a gift for all of us to give to one another here. Unconditionally love and be vulnerable.
Beautiful. Oh gosh, so good. Thank you, love. Thank you. Melissa, please go ahead.
Thank you. My inner child wants to run on the playground to so many of you and be like, can we be friends? Oh, I love this space so much. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I really resonated with, that our inner child, the way we come in is so pure and so authentic and so true to our design. And, it's something that came through right before I came into the space because the vision comes through always right before. And so it's really, I'll share a reflection of what came through for me, but recognizing when I lost myself was when my system was breached. And I think many people here have reflected that, whether it was physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, but that sort of self-rejection, where are you? Someone said the numerologist said about the line 4, and it was so funny because control was something that was there you are. Control was something that was put on me as a young child so much that I couldn't be who I was. It was that constant rejection of my most authentic self in order to actually reflect the version of my parent that wanted me to be more like them than who I really was. And so it's very interesting is that we take that sort of, whether it's control or whatever experience that mirrors our internal insecurities, and we tend to exhibit that in the world. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see the reflections and be able to take that personal responsibility to be willing to see ourselves, to be willing to hold ourselves in that space and the mirror in front of us to actually claim back that child's, right? Claim back that inner essence, our true frequency. And it's not so much about becoming the child's, it's fun to go and hold that child's hand and play with them and do all the fun things, but at the level of awareness and wisdom and sort of evolution, really embracing the evolution each step at a time as life gives us that opportunity when we're triggered to actually hold that trigger gently and turn in and say, okay, what am I meant to learn from this? How am I meant to grow? And so the work that I do with clients, a lot of it is, using tools of timeline therapy to clear the 7 negative emotions. I don't love the judgment of the negative emotions, but it's really that energetic frequency that pulls us down into that energetic sinkhole where, we're no longer embodied in our truth. And so to be able to really embrace and embody the frequency, and then, doing somatic work really helps us to go back to that child and, repattern the way that we receive the world, remember who we really are, and be able to actually fully claim that and come back into our adult self with that wisdom and knowing and frequency of, oh, right, this is my true authentic self. This is my own unique frequency. And I see it as sort of like a quilt, and each of us are strings of that quilt. As soon as we claim our own authenticity, we actually leave the space for everyone else to be uniquely as they are in their own life and experience. And so, yeah, in being ourselves, we support each other and the world. And so that's the inner child is really, I think it's active all the time. I agree with everything everyone said. That, yeah, the healing journey, it's interesting. It's almost that remembering, who we really are. So thank you.
That's beautiful, that uniqueness within ourselves and within others. That's really beautiful to bring up, because it is such an important part of being connected so deeply to each other. Thank you so much. Daniel, please go ahead.
Well, such great shares here. Really appreciating the wisdom coming from everyone. There's a lot of different ways, I believe, that we can identify when inner child is active. Essentially, it's the conditioning in our nervous system that happens when we did not have a chance to regulate or empower ourselves. So this can happen at any different type of age or even young adulthood. So like the reaction to our response, posturing, being a bully, fawning, freezing, that kind of response, how quickly does that come up when we are met with a little bit of stress or stimulation? A very dysfunctional or dysregulated nervous system, drug addiction, hiding, isolating. So this comes from like a lack of us also not embracing the totality of our emotional spectrum, that we have so much nuance to the subtlety to the everyday that we can feel, and it's our ability to really embrace that and be in tune. So one way I also identify is like we just speak almost as a safety measure in our intellectual mind. So when there is deep, deep safety in the body and there is an embodiment of sexual health, then we again are going to be able to, it's a little bit maybe more for men that have lost that, but like we command our presence from a certain place. I could even say that we lost a lot of the ability to be penetrative in who we are. And what we're doing by that is we're creating safety as well for the women around us, that there is a sense of we are feeling who we are, because we all want to be more felt and understood and heard, and that is a gift of healing. So I really believe in that as well. It's also going to look like feeling really deeply dissatisfied with ourself and unresolved hate towards our parents. So if we're bringing up the parents a lot, of like the thing that we cannot directly confront and deal with our parents, then it's going to be our part of our story, and then we're going to rehash that story. So, and also I just want to take a moment of like all the women that have shared here for what they've been through in their life. And it's really, yeah, it hits me deep and I'm touched by it. And I'm grateful for being in this container with all of you. I'll also share earlier that I'm in the Vancouver, BC area. That's where I serve the entire Lower Mainland in Canada. And I do psycho-emotional, deep, deep transformative work with people, almost like at an accelerated kind of evolution of who we are.
That's beautiful, Daniel. And for sure, that parent blaming is definitely one of the indicator, even at any age. You know, one of my friends, she's in her 70s and was still talking about how she is unhappy because of her mother. And it was shocking to me because she hadn't lived with her mother in 50 years. And so it is life transforming. And yes, it's good to do the deep work. Thank you so much. Jessie, please go ahead.
Wow, such beautiful shares and wisdom in the room. So yeah, I could absolutely tie some things in from each share. But for me, I just want to start by mentioning that, different parts of us showing up in our current adult selves, they're often coming from a protective place, trying to ensure that something isn't reoccurring from childhood or a different point in time in our lives. And this pattern being acted out as an adult now is often sabotaging our goals today. And so I feel it's important to name as well that these parts of us are, while they're often child parts, they can also be parts of us from 10, 5, 2 years ago. And so really what I see in session with clients that is really evident that an old part is at play is when the client is saying things, exhibiting actions, or perhaps a lack of actions that do not align with their current goals. and how they really show up when they're in their power, when they're really in their confidence. And this is, of course, like many people have shared, a vibrational energy reality. And so it's getting them comfortable and confident to tap into that themselves and start to notice when that dissonance is happening. And we're going to get into, I think, as well, what you do from there. So thanks so much for this first question.
Thank you for being here. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, we're going to go into our second question and last question for today. What does reparenting look like in practice within your modality? And how can someone begin that work on their own? So definitely I'll invite everyone to connect with you and do the work with you. But if they were to try on their own, what would that feel like and look like? Adrienne, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for this question. I quite often see it as an empowerment and transformation coach. A lot of people live in the disempowered side of their energetic codes. And I recently actually just had a 63-year-old woman who I related to the story someone was telling about a parent being mad at her mom. And she actually realized that she was living in that disempowered state. So reparenting to me literally means learning to meet your own unmet needs, because we are here to build security within ourselves. And so depending upon our childhood experiences, we have anxious, we have avoidance, we have anxious avoidance, like we have all these things. And so we need to take a look at ourselves emotionally, energetically, and spiritually, because using this awareness and then having compassion for it is how we shift. Because it's not about blaming your parent. It's also looking at what your younger self always needed. And again, I see this over and over and over again with every single client I do, every single numerology reading I do. And my sessions are really about looking at that core wound. So every ruling number has a core wound. It also has patterns, and it also has repeats things in relationships. So this is where I really lean into working with that client's information, because we can actually rewrite this energetic blueprint. And it really is about mindset work, how to love yourself, how to feel safely inside. I work with 4 wellness bodies. And so there really is a process and a divine timing cycle that I take people through. So honestly, I say to people, start with your ruling number. It is the easiest thing. It is the overall arching umbrella. It is your life path that your soul came here to experience. And then we need to take a look at the disempowered side of it. And then we work through, like other people in this group, about grounding, breath work, anchoring new patterns. So this is the work that I do with clients to really help them embody and also get out and play. Like, I just think that we're all a bunch of adults running around like children, and if you don't take time off, if you don't make space for yourself to just sit and play and experience this lifetime, then what are you doing here? Because we need to really just take a pause and notice when we're feeling these emotions come up and what need is needed. And then we can go around and say, okay, I got you. I don't have to fix this to be safe. And then we anchor in these things through the bodies and working with numerology. So yeah, that's how people can work with me.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Sunny, please go ahead.
Thank you. So reparenting looks like, in how I practice, is really deep work. So I take people through a guided meditation practice to access trauma wounds, so consciously work with the unconscious and the trauma wounds. So we go back to the core wound and work with the inner child at that space. So it's really deep work. And again, this isn't for everybody, but it's for those who want to explore on that kind of deeper level. And but how people and how can start to work with it on their own is really, I really love moment by moment tracking as well, but also constant, like, well, not constant, but more observation than we ordinarily would do in our everyday lives. So for example, like, you might feel triggered in a supermarket line because, the checkout person is talking too long to the first customer and just like, I just want to get out of here. And then you can kind of see, well, what is that triggering in me? What is my inner child responding to in this instance? And it can be a whole range of different things. And depending on how deep you want to go in that moment or afterwards in terms of reflection. But this moment by moment kind of tracking when you have space is really powerful because it can kind of get you to start understanding why we might be reacting the way we do in any particular scenario. And usually it's a lot more to do with lots of other things than the actual scenario itself.
Totally. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, please go ahead. You're muted, love.
We muted and unmuted. It really comes back. It's really the reason I wrote the book, Just One Soulful Thing, was about reclaiming, reconnecting with that child within that is healed. I homeschooled our boys for up until they're 19 and 17 now. And really that was about it was about parenting myself through the process of honoring them as individuals and recognizing that a big part of my job was to get out of the way because they were fresh souls coming into the world and being able to just help them navigate the world. And we actually did something called the Mad Hero Project. So for their whole young lives in the homeschooling process, it really was about unleashing and learning to listen to that voice within and honoring and the techniques along the way that have now become Just One Soulful Thing that has now become my work in the world. And really it's about, for me, it's all about realigning with soul. And that's just the word for realigning with your sacred inner self that is all wise, all encompassing, all beautiful, all possible, all limitless. And so Just One Soulful Thing is really, the book is designed for people to do it on their own. And it begins with just that first process of just this, which is present moment living, which even in my own life, and there's been lots of trauma in my past as well too, that I won't get into today, but it definitely guided the journey of healing for myself and then helping other people to heal. But it really, when the whole world is overwhelming, we need to just get back to the moment. In my work, it's about just this and just appreciating the moment that you're in, so you get a bit of that relief. And then it's about just one soulful thing at a time. When you feel as though you can do more, then you can envision more. But getting back to that just present moment living and then embracing things one soulful thing at a time with consciousness and intention. And so of course that's through meditation and through play and through re-envisioning your life and what your purpose is and the passion that you have within your soul. And so it's just stilling and listening and honoring and trusting and following where that voice leads. And sometimes that's through meditation, sometimes that through working with beautiful people like you in this room or myself. It's about going on retreat. It's about listening to that voice within yourself, to where you would go, what you would read, who you would connect with and align with, so that you can get back to living a peaceful, whole, and soulful life, so that you can fulfill your purpose in your own way, in your own time. So that's really what the flow is for me around that.
So beautiful. We'll definitely have to put your book in the links so that people can easily find it. Thank you so much. Dr. Janine.
Well, I basically live my life to release emotion to understanding, because I've realized through the years, emotion creates reaction, which creates illness, which creates depression, which creates everything. So I've tried to, the clients that I've worked with, I can literally leave my body and go in their body and see what the blockage is, so that they don't have to keep coming back and spend a lot of money and be able to go out in the world and make a difference. Because our energy field, when we're with someone over 30 minutes, our vibration affects their vibration. So it's like a light bulb. You're touching the light and the light gets brighter. Because I learned that being with yogis, when I would go around them, I would take such a shift and feel this just happiness just from being near them. So I've taken the knowledge that I've had through the years and I've been using that. And I think the breath is the biggest thing. With anyone I work with, I teach them how to breathe properly. Because if you're breathing properly, you cannot get mad. So that they can learn how to take responsibility for their breath and their emotions, because that creates everything. So that's basically how I do my work and share. And I have a book called Achieving Self-Mastery. And notice I say achieving because it's an ongoing journey. And then my son wrote a book with him because he had ADD and he was being naughty. So I would take him and we'd make up stories where he was a hero. So my other book, it's a trilogy, McDermott Mysteries. And so he helped me write it. So we had the first book, Zubak and the Secret Mountain. And what's so funny is that Zubak appeared to me in my room, a little gnome in spirit, and gave me his name. And a friend of mine came over and she said, "Who's that little spirit that's around you?" And I said, "That's Zubak." So I try to open people to the magic that's out there and the possibilities if we can break free of the patterns and programs that we've been implanted with. So thank you, all of you. You're beautiful.
Thank you. That's gorgeous. Thank you. Hiya. Oh, Kara, can you hear us?
Yeah, I heard you, but I didn't hear my name clearly. So
Sorry, that's probably my bad.
okay. Yeah, so this is a beautiful question. Like, how does it look in our practice and what the parents or the person can do on their own? I think that's really practical approach. So thank you for asking this question. For me, when I'm working with families in crisis, my work as family harmony facilitation is not just them coming to me. I actually work with them in the home. I work with the parent mentoring. I work with the child on their own, and I work with the parent and the child together to witness their dynamics and see what's really happening. That way I have a full picture of the situation. And the biggest thing that needs to come first is to create that safety. So one of the biggest things that I do first with my clients is to be able to hold space for them and their big emotions, whether that is a 6-year-old having a complete meltdown or a parent that is just feeling completely overwhelmed due to their own nervous system being already dysregulated through what they've been through. So what I do is to be able to hold space for them and hold them in that nurturing energy that they both need in that moment, whether that emotion is anger or fear or sadness. It's heavy. So I help to hold that load for them and help them process and get through that. And then what we do to help them to become more self-sufficient and to be able to do things like this on their own is to become more conscious and aware of their emotions. So one thing, for example, I did with a little 5-year-old I was working with, I had him lay down on a giant piece of paper and I traced his body. And we talked about where is anger in his body, where is happiness in his body. And I gave him colors to connect to that, and he colored in the spots where he felt them, and then we can look at, okay, how can we process that emotion based on now our knowledge of where this child, knowing themselves, feels it in their body. And the parent can then do a similar process, maybe without drawing on themselves, but can do that scanning for themselves. Where do I hold this emotion in my body? So if it's you holding anger in your feet, for example, you just start stomping something. I have this pillow that's very solid bean pillow, and I have them jump on it, I'm like, I have them pick it up and hit it on the ground. They can jump and they can punch it. Like, so depending on where they're need to get this emotion out of their body. And so the parents likewise can do the same thing. And so I look at practical strategies and tools for them to be aware of themselves, and then how to communicate differently. Words, as was mentioned, are so important. They create our reality, they influence the people around us, and especially have an influence on ourselves. So we look at the words that they're using and how we can shift and change those words into something that is going to create more connection as opposed to chaos. So that's how it looks like in the work that I do. Thank you.
Beautiful. I can see how you hold space so well. So I'm sure that they really appreciate you being there to echo what their feelings are. That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Patsy, please go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, because I was all over the place and I didn't know what I didn't know, so I didn't know how to forgive myself. So that's one of those basic things with loving self, forgiving self is really huge. And I found that healing wasn't found in the noise, it was discovered in my stillness. And how did I get still? Well, my higher power gifted me with a concussion, and I had the opportunity to really work on the neuropathic transformation, they like to call it. I like to call it evolution, because I'm constantly evolving. And so I believe you are too. You don't have to believe what I believe. And that's the wonderful thing. I've been able to, in many instances, let go of ego and to step into self awareness that I have gifts. And you do too. And we were given these gifts to help and love each other, to evolve so that we all can be that connecting link to love. What this whole world needs right now is the spread of love, not the spread of fear, but be aware of our fear and forgive ourselves from the fear and be the seeker, which I am, a number 7. I don't want to pull it out, but I'm pulling it out. I'm a number 7. I'm a seeker. I'm a teacher. I'm a path walker. And that's why I feel vulnerability is such a power tool. And one thing I do on one-on-ones is a lot of people put your hands on your heart, but really what a person's learning is to how to really love themselves without thinking that it's egoic, without realizing that somewhere along the line, you were taught to not love yourself. And so we sit in the power of loving and hugging just through the screen. Just hold yourself and truly, truly love yourself. It's very powerful. It's very enlightening. And sometimes they have to get out of self in order to start that movement in loving self. It's really hard to define, and I'm going to use the word hard because it was hard for me at first. But today it's not. It's soft, it's gentle, it's beautiful. This voice is not the girl that I used to be. It was loud, it was obnoxious, it was the go-getter, which I am, and I can still be. And that's what I want to help others to realize. You can become who you choose to be, not who others have developed you to be. So grateful and life, people, places, and things. But that's kind of where I'm at in life today. And so what? I got it late. I'm 65. I'm thriving. I'm loving it. I finally come into my own journey, and I believe we all get what we need in our own time. So that we can be the best conduit for others.
That's beautiful. Well, I'll give you a big, big hug right now, love. That is gorgeous. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Relitza, please.
Yeah, so some of the work it's very similar to what a lot of people have shared, but being able to go back into our physical bodies, into the sensations that are actually present when we're triggered, is one way to really learn self-mastery, to be able to actually hold space for our emotions. That's learning that emotional mastery, to be able to go into the body and actually transform the sensation, the experience, what our younger version of ourselves really made that experience mean about us, and how we created our identity based on that experience as a younger self. And so being able to go into that and not just be aware of it, not just hold that younger version of ourselves, but go into the next level of actually becoming that younger self, receiving what we didn't receive at that time, and then being able to either merge if we're ready to merge with that younger self, or stay separate if we're not ready, but really to be able to, receive that love, that it's all different versions of unconditional love and acceptance. And so doing the inner work in the space looks like that. And it can look very different after that, whether it's creating a vision board and doing different things that are really from that connected version of ourselves, that aligned version of ourselves, that the true essence of who we are. And so I think a lot of times, we try to do this work on our own, and it's not that it's not possible. I think with the right tools, and with, practicing the right tools, it's not about becoming codependent on a coach, or, on a modality, or even there's so many different tools. I mean, gene keys are such a beautiful tool, numerology, human design, all of these things are such beautiful tools to help us to see ourselves. They're very confronting in that you have to then, kind of step into that, who you really are. And it's about not having that codependence on anything outside of yourself, really being able to tune in and really being able to receive that message from within, from source, whether you call that God or Mother Nature, or, it's that yes, and it's all of it, right? And we see it in a reflection in others, and really being able to receive the reflection and the trigger. And instead of saying, you triggered me, it's like, wait, I am triggered based on what's happening in my world. And so if we were to really step into that space of doing the work on our own, I would say that, like others shared, it's about slowing down in that moment, and maybe not in the moment that it's happening, but recognizing, okay, this is something to work later when I get home. But being able to slow down and really tune in. And first of all, I mean, the wave of emotions that comes, it requires some time to settle. So allowing that wave to come, allowing whatever's coming through, if it's an emotion, just to really fully, truly feel it completely, that gets us to a place of emotional mastery. To be able to actually go in and find the wisdom within. What is that thing that I really needed as a child when I felt this? And it ripples through all of our lives. And so being able to tune in, and sometimes that's through journaling, sometimes that's just simple meditation and receiving the message, sometimes it's dance and play and, different activities. And so really being able to trust your inner yes and your inner no. So being able to say no, thank you to all the things that are not aligned. And I don't love the terminology boundaries, because it feels like we're putting a wall up to the world. I really love that essence of honoring ourselves, right? Really being able to show up for ourselves in unconditional love and say, okay, what is it actually that is true for me, that I can honor myself? Is it actually saying yes to this thing? Or is it saying no, thank you, and leaving that space for somebody else to step in, that it is their zone of genius, or it is something that they can truly support from their heart. And when we say no, I find that it's so generous, growing up, not being able to say no, feeling like I can't say no. It's one of the greatest tools that I ever learned, is how to say no, thank you. And that actually gives that space to someone else to say yes. And then honoring ourselves and our passion and our purpose and our potential. That is the P3 alchemy, right? That I've sort of channeled, and what's come through me is when we can actually clear all the space of the no's, then we hold space for ourselves to say yes and step into that passion and really start to live that life of synchronicity. And I wrote a chapter in a book, Beyond Coincidence, and that's exactly what it's all about. As soon as we start to honor ourselves, life becomes so synchronistic. The universe brings you the right people, it brings you into the right places, and things just become so flowy and juicy and expansive. So yeah, before we close, I also wanted to honor the gentleman in the room. Thank you for, calling men into the space as well, because it is much less common that we see men in this space. And so, you know, being called into this space as the divine masculine to hold, you know, we all have our masculine and feminine for those that are listening, but really to be able to hold that space for transformation and safety when we all have had so many traumatic experiences, men and women, of our system being penetrated when it's not in integrity and alignment. And so being able to come into this space together in that union and to be able to be seen and heard is such a gift with each other. So thank you, Danielle, for being here. Thank you all for being here. It's such a gift to learn and grow and reflect each other. So thank you for having me.
That's beautiful. And I love how you're bringing it back to the self and that resilience piece that comes with that ability to really thrive in all sorts of situations. So thank you so much. Yes, beautiful. Daniel, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to share a practical one right for your listeners here right now, essentially, which is go back to a time where you felt punished or you were not heard. Go into that moment, and what would you have wanted to hear or received from your caregiver? And if you feel that you can give that to yourself, then you are further along that evolution of loving yourself. If you feel you cannot, then go have a conversation with your parents and talk to that and resolve that feeling. Because for some of us, it was maybe deeply traumatic. For once, because I have more hippie style, emotionally intelligent parents, it was just once that my father said, "Shut up" to me ever in my entire life. And that impacted my nervous system. So that's one thing. Another one I'll definitely share here is, you know, that like giddy kind of feeling you got as a kid, that you had this kind of unkempt level of joy and excitement for life, that like your whole body, I know I have it because I have ADHD, but it's like this unleashing of yourself, but you don't even know how to contain it within your body. So it comes out with like really vibrant, bright eyes. It comes out from a sense of like a projection of joy and excitement that shoots out of your body. That to me is that we are actually more in tune with ourselves. So that is part of the reparenting from young adolescence and being a child into being an adult body, that we have way more access to our electromagnetism. And the electromagnetism is like a lot of the voltage of the cells of our body. Otherwise, we're going to tend to be, again, in our minds. We're gonna go into looping patterns of feeling bored about life and the redundancy, and also not enough of the excitement of the adventure. So that's a big one. And how that comes out sometimes in conscious connected breathwork or body work is tremoring of the body. Tremors that come out from the body, sometimes of like women shaking uncontrollably on the table, or men. And this can also come out psycho-emotionally or psychologically, like blame shifting into feelings of, and again, a lot of how we are painting, how we feel is a big thing. Like no judgment, no negativity towards these things. Infantile emotions. So the infantile emotionality of how things can come out in a sort of more adolescent type of way, but we're bridging that feeling towards them to come closer into the attunement of their body. Repression and shame, these are all the ways, and how people can actually come more into that healthy, what I believe our healthiest sexual embodiment of the evolution of ourself. More for men, it's towards their sexual evolution, because congratulations, men, you're 1 out of 1,000 that do that, if you do it at all. And for women, for me, it's a lot about the radiance of your heart and also your expression that sometimes gets shuts down. We tend to concave our shoulders forward. We hide our chest. That's a lot in like the posturing of us having like erect spines and feeling that our chest is literally open, and taking way more emotional risks, way more than we think that we are comfortable with. Like the emotional risk stuff will cure and save our soul. the emotional risk will actually feel like, oh my God, I know what this feels like. And it's a really incredible feeling that we give back to ourselves. It's going to cure rejection and the rejection sensitive dysphoria that a lot of ADHD people have. I work a lot with neurodivergence and that place again of our inner primal, that primal, there is nothing wrong with our animalism as well. And I believe in the furthest ancestry of the DNA healing that we can do is that we have a sense of our primality, which is, I do like archetypal work, like running around like you're an animal for a minute. See how freeing that is just to do that for a minute. But being able to live from the wildness of our imagination that we sometimes just are shut down in, to let that come alive, like the aliveness in ourself. And another big way is like, how can I test with a friend that or confidant that I trust or a therapist to literally learn how to give more and receive more? This is a huge one. This is life-changing. Like for women, you're meant to receive so much. And the only way that men can do that is to take the emotional risks to penetrate with their presence. And why I'm not sure how people might have some defensiveness or things coming up around protecting themselves over the word penetrate. But so many men are living from shame and sexual shame and the repression of themselves. They don't know what to do with the outlet of their sexual energy. So that's a big one. And we got to initiate more play, more the ability to be playful. And on one of the deepest levels of this is a deep, profound sense of sisterhood and brotherhood. Like that sense that you feel such a deep trust with another person, like men that would go to battle for each other. I have your back, brother. Like, I love you. I see you. For women, you have it more naturally initiated in the sense of self in your womanhood circles, in your retreats. And men don't have this very often with their buddies and drinking. And then again, that's more of their feminism that is coming out. And then it only comes out after like 5 or 6 drinks. I don't drink myself, but I know, unfortunately, this is the culture that we live in. And where do we have places where we can live this way with each other? So thank you. It's also a deep sense of healthy self-pleasure, I would say, and how we are working with this, like the microcosmic orbit of our sexual energy. So that was a lot there, but a lot to work with in ourselves.
Beautiful. Yes, attaining that bliss and living in that beauty that we're just so privileged to experience. That's really, really wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. Jessie, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for me, in the work that I do with clients, this reparenting process comes up really organically. And so it's not necessarily, okay, we've got set time here where we're going in and we're reparenting. This is an organic thing that comes up as we were talking about before. The inner child comes up and there's something that comes online to really explore a little bit deeper. And so just to give the listeners a sense of what this looks like in session. So this is very much, staying with the part for a moment longer as it comes up to the surface, getting curious. And so this is a big one with clients is bringing that curiosity online, which is such an element of childhood and being a child. And so, the second part of this is asking that permission to deepen. This is deeply vulnerable work to do, is to go back and meet this inner child self that might be coming up online. And so, it's something to do when we're really resourced. And if a client isn't necessarily feeling that in any given moment, that's not something we're really going to tap into and explore right then and there. We can come back to. And so that's an important piece that I wanted to mention. And from there, if they are resourced and that permission is feeling resonant, then we start to explore, what part is coming up? What age are they? What's going on for them? How are they feeling? What do they need? All of these beautiful, important questions. And really from there, my job is to hold this space for them in this process as they, themselves, as their adult selves, act as that parent to that part of them, listening themselves to that inner child part, providing for them that need in the utmost loving way possible. And so this is really deeply healing for a lot of clients, and we get into that. They may also share a positive affirmation or a belief with their younger self that really is supportive to them. You may have seen there are some viral reels that have gone on online before where it's, let's say a mother with her little daughter in front of a mirror, and she's getting her to repeat back these positive affirmations about herself, looking at herself in the mirror. This is like a 4-year-old or something. And it just gives me goosebumps to watch. And so you can imagine that type of exchange happening with a client or yourself if you're watching, and that younger part of yourself as you're doing this. And then in terms of how someone can bring this into their own day-to-day life, when we're not in session, or if you're not working with someone one-on-one, any of these beautiful other humans here today, is really just to do that similar process, but through meditation or free journaling, to connect with that inner child and let them know you're there for them, you're supporting. The biggest piece here is really just to be in dialogue with your inner child and being able to turn to them and have that connection at any point in time as something comes up. And a lot of folks on the panel today have given cues as to know when the inner child has come online. And so then taking that moment to pause if you can in the moment or later on in the day to really sit down in meditation, in journaling, and move through a sequence like I just shared, or something else that was shared as well today. And so this is the work that I do with folks in series together, is to really get the client comfortable and confident to do this process on their own. So it's really a tried and true practice they can turn to in their daily lives to allow for this healing to continue to unfold. So thank you so much, Melanie, for having me, and so happy to share on this today.
What brought you to this work, Jessie?
Such a beautiful question. So I was actually an elementary school teacher for many years before I stepped into this work. And so I had the absolute privilege of working with 6-year-olds day in and day out. And so as you can imagine, I saw them right in the start of when this starts to shift for folks, when we start to learn how we're supposed to be in this world and how we start to put our true selves on the back burner. And seeing this in little 6-year-olds in the classroom and getting them to do a lot of the work I do with adults now was incredibly life-changing and also heartbreaking at the same time. To see, a little 6-year-old who was deeply in tears, saying, but what if you don't love yourself? So that is really what shifted things for me to go, this work is so important, it's so needed. And to be able to do that now with the adults, the parents, and seeing how that affects how they parent as well, with a lot of others on the panel who shared they work with parents and children together. That is incredible, and I'm cheering you on in that. So
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, I have been so disrespectful of your time because I had no idea what time it was. This was
It's perfect timing, Melanie.
Cool.
It's perfect timing.
Oh, thank you so
Beautiful.
much, everyone. This was incredibly amazing. I always love my time in our community, but really special. Thank you all. I really want to encourage you to reach out to each other. Everyone watching, I encourage you to reach out to these beautiful souls. Obviously, your life is going to be improved improved by it. You can make a friend, do more. I mean, they've shown today here how beautiful their light is and how brightly it shines. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie. Lovely to meet you all.
Thank
Stay in
you,
touch.
everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye,
Thank you
sweetheart.
all.
Peace and love.
Thank you.